girls, we've gone through each one of the 3 stages of aerobic cellular respiration, and now I'm just going to stitch them all together in one little summary video. Make sure we understand what goes in at each stage, what comes out at each stage, and what the importance of each one of those is. So this is probably the biggest take home. With bio, we tend to learn all this theory, and then they're going to ask you a bunch of questions which ask you to apply that theory. So one of my other screencasts that I'm going to make is me going through the answers to a few exam style questions, and you'll be able to see what I mean when I say that they don't really ask you what is an input of glycolysis. I mean, they have, but they don't do it all the time. So let's just summarize up, what do we know about aerobic cellular respiration? So there are 3 stages within aerobic cellular respiration. Stage number 1 is glycolysis. Stage number 2 is the citric acid cycle. And stage number 3 is the electron transport chain. Okay, let's look at what goes in. So what goes in is going to be the blue bit. So the blue bit, we've got an input is glucose. We also need to have an input of ADP plus PI into this one. And then our third input is going to be NAD plus. Okay, so there are our inputs for this stage. Then we're going to go to what are our outputs of this stage. Our output number 1 is going to be pyruvate. We're going to get 2 pyruvate out here. We're going to get 2 ATP out here, which they're down here. Yeah, and we're also going to get 2 NADH. And they're the ones that are coming up across the top here. All right. So none of those are an input into the next one except for pyruvate. So pyruvate comes across and pyruvate becomes an input into the citric acid or the Krebs cycle. In addition to this, we're also going to need a little bit more ADP. We're going to need a little bit more NAD plus, same as we needed before. And as a result of this, what we get out of this stage is we've got some more NADH that's going to come up here and be used, or this is the NADH that's coming across this way. And we're also getting out another 2 ATP, but not a lot of ATP yet. So these first 2 stages, they're not great at producing a lot of ATP, but they're very important to produce as many of those NADH molecules as they possibly can. There is another output of the citric acid cycle. That other output of the citric acid cycle is going to be carbon dioxide. Okay, that's a waste. We know we breathe that out, so we're not going to need that. So our final stage is electron transport chain. Now this is where our input of those NADH come in. Okay, so we've got all those NADH come in. We also need to put in some oxygen. Okay, and we're going to need to put in a lot of ADP again plus PI. So for every single one of these stages, you can always say an input is ADP. Okay, so we've got this ADP that's coming in. We go through all of that long chain along the electron transport chain. And what do we get out? This is the massive thing that we need. We get 32 or 34 ATP out. And that is the whole point of aerobic cellular respiration. So one of the dot points says, what is the purpose of cellular respiration? That is, yeah, the purpose is that. Must be producing lots and lots of ATP. We've also got some other things. We've got another waste product. We make some more water. We're also going to make some NAD+. Why do we need to make NAD+? Because it's going to come back and be reused in these processes here. So just to summarize here, you've got a lovely little table to go through. I've got 3 different colors. I've got a color for a coenzyme, a color for a chemical, and a color for ATP. But let's just see how to fill these in. So you can see that I've put in 1 glucose to glycolysis, and it's happening in the cytosol. So we didn't talk about that. So this is one big table that summarizes everything. We put in 1 glucose, we put in ADP. Can you see there's ADP at all 3 levels here? We get out 2 ATP, and that is the biggest point. Yeah, so this is the point. The whole point of glycolysis is to get some of that. We also get this pyruvate. What are we going to do with the pyruvate, you ask? We're going to bring it down and put it into the Krebs cycle. So now the Krebs cycle is going to take in that pyruvate. It's going to take in some more NAD+, ready to load them up, and it's going to take in some more ADP. We make this carbon dioxide, which goes off to be waste. So let's make another color. So that's off to be waste. Okay. The NADH we're making here, that's great. And some more ATP. Yeah, so we've got more of this stuff that the point is. The whole point of cellular respiration is to make ATP. But now this is where the beauty comes in. This NADH that we made in glycolysis and the NADH we made in the Krebs cycle, they're going to come down into the cristae, into that inner membrane, and go through the electron transport chain. That, coupled with some oxygen, is going to create this water. Now again, water, not really useful for us. That's a waste product, so it's coming up here with the blue stuff. But look at this. You get lots and lots of yummy ATP at the end. And so this here, the most important thing with the ETC is to identify that this is where you create the most ATP. Even if you can't remember the numbers, that's fine. This is the section of the aerobic respiration that produces the most ATP. You'll see that then you've got some electron carriers. Now we've got this NAD+. That can be recycled and come back and be used the next time over in glycolysis and the Krebs cycle. So hopefully this table, I'm just going to clear all my pen markings. This table here is what you must be able to remember. You should be able to apply this information to questions, and we're going to give that a go in a bit, but it's really, really important that you remember this information.